Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Heart-Centered Therapist podcast, coming to you live today with my wonderful guest, Tamara Howell. Tamara is the host of TheraBundle, and she's a UK Qualified Psychotherapist with an online practice based near Paris, France. She creates courses, offers coaching programs for therapists, a mastermind for therapreneurs, and runs several Facebook communities. Tamara is all about collaborating, and she would much rather show off her friends' projects than her own, which is how TheraBundle was created. We're going to talk all about TheraBundle and some of her other projects. Tamara has helped thousands, and I mean literally thousands of people who have taken her courses. She's helped thousands of people find clarity, confidence, and a new way of looking at their businesses. So welcome, Tamara. I'm so happy you're here.
Thank you so much for having me, and also for collecting that really very cool introduction about me.
Yeah, pleasure. This is so exciting, and we're coming from different countries, which is great.
Yeah, I'm in France. It's lovely and sunny here. We're having a very strange late in the year heat wave today, and yeah, I'm so glad that we could find a time.
Beautiful. Yes. And I'm here in Maine, and we're just starting to have some fall color, and so it's very nice. Lovely. So I love starting out with my basic question, which is part of my mission of being heart-centered. And I'd love to know, what does being a heart-centered therapist mean to you?
I love this question. And, for me, when I think about this, there's several layers to this question. So my original answer is really that being heart-centered for me means engaging in the concept of radical empathy. And really what I mean by that is not just being empathic with our clients, but also with our colleagues, and then also with ourselves. So for me, being heart-centered is also about self-focus, which can sound like selfish, but I think it's like what approaches we bring into our work and how we look at people and how we interact in the world, coming from this place of trust that when we take care of others, when we take care of ourselves, that's kind of the same thing, But if I take care of myself, then that's what's best for other people. When I take care of other people, that's what's best for me. Same, and the same goes the other way around. So maybe that's like a little bit abstract as an answer, but those are the layers that I think about with that.
I love the layers, and it is abstract, and I think I really appreciate that, because it does start with ourselves, right? We are giving and working from our heart, and we have to know ourselves and be in that place. And so it's such a great lead into what you do and how you help therapists connect to themselves, to their businesses, to larger audiences and communities. And we know that TheraBundle is one of the ways. But how did you get started with just course creation in general?
Well, I started my practice, I think about 12, 13 years ago now. And then I moved to France. I took a bit of time off and then I started a new practice. And I developed all these templates for reaching out to people. I would send people letters to introduce myself. So other therapists, doctors, psychiatrists, to introduce myself. I think I sent out about 100, 120, something like that. But real letters in the post with my logo and everything embossed on a piece of paper and, proper signing it and stuff. And when I did that, I remember sort of thinking, oh, I probably could save someone time if I just gave them this wording,
Yes.
And someone helped me, there was a therapist who was here in France and she helped me. She sort of went through my list with me and she was like, yeah, definitely contact them. And I remember her being really helpful, really generous with me. She was not one of those people that was sort of keep all their contacts in a Rolodex secretly. She was very generous. And then, that made me that way as well. So then when other people would come here, I would be like, oh, I've got to get you together with so-and-so and, that kind of thing. And as I moved around, I lived in other countries, and I would sort of go through all these various processes and keep hold of those templates and things. I did a big overhaul of my paperwork when, I think probably about 5 years ago, 6 years ago. And then one of my colleagues asked me for the paperwork, and he said, well, I'll pay you. You've obviously spent like hours and hours on this. And then I paid a lawyer because I saw, well, Americans do that all the time. And I thought, well, I want to have fancy paperwork as well. So I paid a lawyer in the UK. It's not really the done thing. And then, colleagues started asking me, can I buy your paperwork? And so I set up a website because I thought, well, I can't be bothered to do it manually all the time. They can just pay and download it. And then after that, people would be like, oh, can you teach me how to do this? Or can we do, the beginning of the pandemic, someone was like, how do I do online therapy? I'd already been doing it for 10 years. So I made a course on that.
Right.
And so that's sort of what's happened, is that these opportunities have presented themselves. And then I've just sort of made a way of sharing them. And that's how I ended up with courses, really.
Amazing.
Just sort of following what's being asked for, I suppose.
Right. And from your own experience, and then connecting that with your own generosity, which is what I love. I mean, I really want to bring guests onto my podcast who are all about being generous, because that's so heart-centered. And so with that, you really described like your experience starting from networking and referral marketing and helping therapists get that visibility. And so once you did that for yourself, you shared it with others. And then going forward, right, with like international practice or online practice. And we will share definitely like your links in the show notes, but you have so many offers, like helping people with their Psychology Today profiles, creating, so many different types of forms, the practice forms. I love that. This was useful to you, and then you put it out there. So really your courses came out of this utility for yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. I think like, maybe that makes the courses and the templates and things less applicable generally, because they're all things that I use in my practice. So it's sort of like you kind of got to like my vibe and the way I work in order to be able to use them, and then I encourage people to like edit and change things and to use your own voice. And I think part of learning who we are as therapists, we learn by doing that, by editing templates, and I sort of found my voice that way, by writing my contract and creating my informed consent and things like that. I sort of found my style and my way of discussing boundaries and things like that. So yeah, I mean, I have like all these different offers, and it can look a little bit like mayhem because I don't just have like one great big offer. But I also think, well, sometimes it's nice just to be able to pick and choose what you need help with. I like the idea of identifying the gap and then learning the skill that goes in the gap, as opposed to committing to sort of, like never ending, like learning of things that you don't really need. So I suppose that's how I've ended up with so many bits and pieces out there.
Yes. Identifying the gap and learning the skill. That is really cool. And also, I think anybody who knows you, Tamara, and you have such a great presence in social media on Facebook. And so we've gotten to know you a little bit and follow travels and conferences you do and things like that, and get a little bit of a sense of your personality. Or I know you love nature. So, I know that about you. And then I also know that you get like so many ideas and inspirations and, so somebody who knows you knows like, oh, she might get another idea and make a course about it. Right.
I mean, that does happen. I maybe have a bit of a reputation for having more ideas than I actually have, because sometimes I don't have ideas for a really long time. But when I get them, I get lots and lots of them. And then my poor team, I do feel bad for them sometimes, because then I'm like, and we're going to do this, and we're going to do this, and we're going to do this. And then what are we going to do with her? So yeah, I mean, I do get a lot of ideas. And do you know what's really interesting is that I love that we're connected on social media. But I don't actually really have any public social media. Like I don't have a podcast. I don't have a YouTube. I'm not on TikTok. So people kind of have to be connected with me a bit in order to know this stuff. You've got to be on my Facebook profile, You've got to be connected with me already on LinkedIn. And so it's really interesting because I don't think of myself on social media, but it is true that my network is very much online, you know? And I love that we can learn those things about each other, and we can get to, and you know, like, I mean, endless photos of parks in France that I put on my on my profile. And sometimes I wonder about things like that. Like, do I really want to share this? And then I just sort of think, well, someone's got to see this tree, you know, someone's got to share that moment with me. So I share it with my colleagues online.
It's part of the generosity, and we appreciate that. And, you know, it has actually taken a long time for me to get you on this podcast. And I know for other hosts as well, because for a while you weren't doing them. And yet we all wanted you to come and share your knowledge and expertise with us. So it's really great.
Thank
and
you.
in fact,
I'm historically a bit allergic to podcasts because I'm afraid about the internet being forever. And I have been on podcasts before and said really silly things. and you know, like I've shared about policies that I've had in my practice, and then, you know, a year later completely changed and completely changed my philosophy on it. And then I'm like, oh, that podcast is there forever. And so it's true that I avoid things like this. But as soon as I started working on TheraBundle this year, I knew, like, this is a reason. This is okay. This I'm totally happy going and shouting about from every single rooftop, because I get to talk about 92 other people.
Let's do it. TheraBundle is about 92 other people, and it's amazing offer. So tell us, what is TheraBundle? Some people kind of have heard of it, but this year, what is TheraBundle?
TheraBundle this year, 2023, is a collection of 93 courses, masterclasses, and templates, downloads, created for therapists and helping professionals, with a collective value of $8,600 and something $8,600. And we're going to sell it all together collectively for 1 week only for $100. So that means that people buy for $100 essentially like an all access pass to as many of those courses as they'd like to sign up for. It can be 5, can be 65, can be 90, as many as people would like to sign up for. And they get a month to sign up for those. And then they keep them, you know, to do in their own time. They're all self-study, so there's no live requirements. There's no, you know, it's basically for people who want to learn various different skills, whether it's personal development, clinical skills, business administration, marketing. We've got a lot of amazing topics in there this year, and they're all really next level. I had a quality checklist that everyone has been through this year. And so, you know, everyone's worked on it so hard. And just even from a business perspective, like everyone has really like up leveled the way that they do their checkouts and their business and how they take care of people. And I'm so excited about it.
It sounds amazing. And so just to be clear, right, we're going to have a link to TheraBundle so that you can also, so that any of my listeners or people watching can definitely sign up for TheraBundle or get on the wait list. It's $100 and you get access to any of these or all of these 90 contributions by therapists and other professionals in the field. And when I think about especially therapists, we are so busy and we know we need support in all of these different realms in our lives. And it's really hard to get them. It's hard to access them. And it's also hard to ask for help because that's part of who we are as helpers. It's hard for us to receive. And so what I love that you have created here is the resource that offers this accessibility, that gives us a chance to look at all of these different realms in our personal and professional lives. Like I did a little bit of homework here. And so the categories are business and administration, marketing and websites, professional and personal development, inclusivity, and alternative income streams. So let's like share a little about like really, what does this mean? Like what are examples of courses or downloads that therapists might get?
It's so interesting because, you know, when I wrote that on the website about those different categories, like I haven't asked people to categorize themselves this year because I really felt like putting people in categories last year kind of, it felt a bit limiting, you know, but I do want people to know what themes and topics we encouraged. And what I really focused on this year was creating a bundle that was for therapists at various different stages of their career. So I did write about those various categories, but when I was writing about them, I was also thinking about making sure there's enough resources for people who are starting a private practice, making sure that there are resources for people who've got a full practice, but really want to work on their profitability and sustainability. You know, talking to therapists who want to expand into multiple income streams and maybe even think about retirement, and also to also create enough resources so that not only could people who are volunteering, learning, working in agencies, working for charities also benefit from it, but also if we got some other kinds of therapists, physical therapists, if we got some coaches, if we got some stragglers from the online business world, that there would also be enough resources in there to serve them. So, I mean, some of the resources in there are really like specifically for therapists and to help us augment our clinical skills. So there are a few people that talk very specifically about psychological practice or psychotherapy practice. And then there are some where they're just like really, really interesting concepts. So we've got Emily, who talks about bibliotherapy, which I think is a really interesting topic for therapists, but it's also interesting for like everyone, you know,
Right.
like my sister loves books. I bet she'd be really into that course. She's not a therapist, you know. We've got lots of really complementary courses. So we've got Kirsten Cable and we've also got Joe Muirhead, who are both talking about podcasting, but from different perspectives. So one about being a guest, one about being a host.
Amazing.
And so we've got people talking about different kinds of marketing. Gulch is talking about YouTube. And we've also got Amber Lyda talking about different kinds of income streams. She's done this amazing resource with loads of different ideas for people who get stuck. There's so many. Avril has shared with us her course about decolonizing psychological practice, and Maira Greenfeld has given us a course about decolonizing self-care. So there's something for your business that's all about inclusivity, but there's also something for your self-care and taking care of yourself. And that's how we've tried to build the bundle, is like taking care of the therapist, taking care of the business, and taking care of like the future and the plans.
That's so thorough and comprehensive. And I love that you've looked at every stage of development for a therapist, right, throughout their career, because that's really important. And we need these types of resources and support and help at every stage. Doesn't matter at what stage, right? There's still growth potential. And I think we as therapists, especially heart-centered therapists, right, we love learning and growing and becoming, you know, better versions of ourselves so we can serve others better. And so whether it's by creating a better website so that you're going to reach your ideal client and like really have an impact, how great is that?
Absolutely. Amazing website resources in there. I mean, I love that you mentioned that because I forgot to say anything about it, but writing my website also really helped me develop my identity as a practitioner. And I love that idea of heart-centered and how it aligns with our values and helps us to express that. You know, so Ariana Smith has shared about writing a website. We've got Anna Walker in there. We've got Danby Shin, who's talking about making globally inclusive websites as well. I'm so thrilled to have her in there. She was like one of my like star pitches that I was really excited to have in. I was so happy she said yes. And so, you know, there's so much stuff in there. Even though I've made my website, I'm still going to have a look at those resources because I know there's always more to learn about myself, my identity as a practitioner, and how much more I can do to help people connect with me, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. And Tamara, this really highlights too a value of yours that you've shared with me and you've shared with your groups about rejecting competition and embracing collaboration. And here you are shouting out praises for all of your contributors. And it really is an example of collaboration. And yet it's like Western culture, we're about competition. We come up competing and in sports and school and all of these things. And it's hard to make that shift to collaboration. So like share a little about how you embrace this. What it seems so easily.
I'm naturally a very competitive person, and it does not serve me. And I have discovered that in many, many different situations, in many different ways. And my family, they tease me about being so like competitive because I'm really like brutal about it. There's something for me about like it's very hard to lose. It's very hard to, the idea of losing is it's sort of a little bit like rejection or being misunderstood or not being able to share, not being able to share my skill or something like that. And so it just doesn't really serve me, that concept. I've never seen it serve me, like wanting to win, wanting to be better. And what has served me has been those moments where someone's been incredibly generous with me, where someone has shared work that they have done like with me, whether it's been for free or whether I've paid for it. Those things have really served me. And so there's a bit of me that, first of all, I like to collaborate because it's easier to advertise other people than ourselves. It's hard to sell what we do, right?
Right.
So it's easier to talk about what other people do. But there's also this really deeply held belief that we are stronger together. We can help more people together. And when I think about TheraBundle last year, there were lots of things that we learned from TheraBundle last year and lots of things I think we've improved. But you can't get away from the fact that over 1,000 people bought the bundle and potentially have learned from those 46 contributors, and they may not have come across those contributors or had that opportunity without that. And lots of those people have become contributors, the buyers. And so there's this sort of never-ending cycle of support and creativity and creation. And so for me, I mean, I know I sound very effusive and I sound very like romantic about it all, but it's really like, how many people do we want to help?
Yeah.
If I have loads and loads of clients, I'm going to burn out. But if a group of us get together and we collectively support each other, we can do that potentially without burning out. That sounds much more sustainable to me.
So much more sustainable and fulfilling. And that's key, especially for people in the helping professions, right? That we're so at risk of burnout, kind of like at every step. And I really thank you for sharing so vulnerably about your own kind of, self-leaning toward being competitive. And I would say I'm kind of that way too. And what I've found, and I like to be very collaborative. And of course, having a podcast lets me be very collaborative and highlight other people, which I love to do, and share what the wonderful things that they're doing. But I've also found I have to like find a little way to nurture the competitive side. So it might be like this summer, I said, 8 weeks, I'm going to sign up for a road race because I haven't raced like since the pandemic. And I thought, well, that would give me a little bit of like my competitive identity or spirit, but without like, kind of hurting anybody else. Do you know what I mean? So something very individual. I don't know. That's not really related.
I love that. I love that. I was thinking like, what's my equivalent? I think it's like,
what's your
when
equivalent?
people, I don't know, when someone's like, oh, you've gone above and beyond for this thing, I think that really fuels the same part, and so it's sort of, it never makes me think, oh, I should do less. It always makes me think, oh, okay, it's really important to do that. So I think it's a similar part where I don't know, like I mean, it's nice to sort of be acknowledged or appreciated, obviously. But that's really interesting. I'm gonna have to go away and have a think about that. Like, what are the ways of like nurturing that a little bit so it's not just squashed,
Right. We don't want to completely throw it out,
Right.
but yeah, it's a hard balance. And yet again, this is our interview today is such a great example, because I was a TheraBundle contributor last year, and I contributed a course on couples counseling. So, but I wasn't participating this year because I'm super busy doing all of these other things. And you have such a high quality, like you said, the quality control. And I was like, yeah, no, it's not what I'm going to do, but I am going to celebrate it and share about it, because I believe in this product that you're offering and the amazing opportunity for both the therapists and the contributors. What do you see as the benefit for the contributors? Because that's really interesting too, from a business standpoint.
Absolutely. I was really disappointed that you're not in this year, but I totally understand, because I've also said no to bundles, this year. There's a really big one that comes up after mine. And I thought, but I'm just not going to be available. I just haven't got the time to throw something together. And even though I'm disappointed, like, I still want to support that event. Mm-hmm. And so I really appreciate it. But I get a lot of that where I'm like, oh no, I want that person. I want that person. I want that person. So the benefits for contributors are, like, we get to work together. And I think last year it was such a great example. It was very, very collaborative. And even when we had little sort of snippets of like feeling a bit competitive, like, people worked through that. And I loved that so much. People were promoting each other. And my goal is for contributors to earn as much as possible. So the contributors they use an affiliate link. So they get individual links. And when they promote the bundle, anyone who joins the waitlist or purchases, like whoever purchases the bundle from their link, they get a percentage of the commission. So sponsors get 65%, affiliates get 30%, and contributors get 50%. They're in the middle.
Amazing.
And the rest of the money is used for to pay the team and to run the bundle and do all the back end and all of that kind of stuff. So there's a potential to earn money. Not everybody does, because some people are very new and they don't have very many people to promote to. So for those people, it's a chance to be part of the collaborative event, and then potentially grow their email list and their audience with people who are interested in their product. So we know that using ads or paying for what we call leads sometimes in online business, or email lists, not email lists, but email addresses, when we advertise for that, like, that can end up costing a lot of money. So this is a way of quickly building a list, quickly building an audience that you can then nurture and potentially sell future offers to. And you might get to meet people that you wouldn't otherwise meet, because we cross-pollinate our audiences. So our collective audience this year is like, some of it's going to be crossover, because some of us share audiences, obviously, as therapreneurs. But it's something like over 300,000 people are going to hear about this in some way or form. And that's so much potential for supporting people. So those are the main benefits: is the collaboration, the building of the email list, and potential revenue. There are other benefits, but they're mostly sort of byproducts and accidental. So there will be people that meet a contributor and they become friends. That's happened from last year. My mastermind was created out of, contributors that wanted me to create one. So there's there have been other collaborations that I've seen between contributors and podcasts, and, people get ideas and things like that. So there's loads of other benefits as well, but they're like accidental, happy moments. Do you know what I mean?
Right. All of these connections, it's so important. And, to my listeners out there, what you're really hearing Tamara describe is like heart-centered entrepreneurship, heart-centered leadership. And that's the model. Look how generous her model is in terms of, affiliate and sponsor and contributor revenue. That's amazing. So I really want to underscore that. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful model. And thank you for doing that, especially in this profession. It's really amazing. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And I think, there are lots of different business models, and for some, the bundle model doesn't really work for them. And I think that's okay. Like, it doesn't feel like a good fit. I love it because of, like, I bought a couple of bundles. I bought the Powerhouse Mum bundle from Yael, and I bought the Lazy Funnel bundle from Dharma Jew, and they were absolutely amazing. They gave me resources that took my business to the next level, and they only cost me $100. So I saved so much money. And so for me, it's like a total easy yes to do something like this for therapists who often don't have the resources to pay thousands of dollars for courses, but do have the desire to learn more constantly, because that's what we are. We always want to learn more as therapists.
Exactly.
So we all want to learn these things, but not enough to spend $1,000 on it, you know, or $500.
Right.
And so, you know, for me, the model, I just really love that model.
Yeah. So
and
those bundles inspired you to create TheraBundle.
Ah, yeah. Amazing. They're like online business bundles. And I was like, well, why are we not doing this for therapists? Therapists actually need a bundle that costs $100.
Can I just say, what a great name, TheraBundle. That's such a great name. You rocked that.
And it's like there's an application for a trademark at the moment, so it's not trademarked yet, but there is an application for it.
Sweet. Hopefully before we know it. Yeah. Oh, that's such a long process. Well, what are so many questions, but here's something that I think is really helpful for people who are listening or watching. Like, what are some success stories of a therapist who bought TheraBundle in the past?
I'm so grateful that I have my coaching groups, because I hear from people all the time about, oh, I did this course that was in TheraBundle last year and I learned this. And oh, is there a, you know, we'll be in my practice pod, which is a coaching group for therapists in private practice, and someone will be like, oh, was there a course on group practices last year, or was there a course on how to create a webinar last year? Or you know, someone said to me something the other day about I need to buy a course on, I can't remember what it was. I need to buy a course on I need to buy a course on working with children in a neurodivergent affirming way. So can you just give me a hint if there's one in the bundle so that I don't go and buy a course?
Yeah.
And there is one this year. So so I was like, yeah, just wait 2 weeks and then buy it in the bundle. And so I've got to hear loads of those things from people where they've learned something specifically, but I've also got to hear about lots of therapists who've become course creators themselves. So people who have been inspired by TheraBundle and now are in TheraBundle. And this year, this is a bit different to last year, but this year I paid one of my VAs to do the tech setup for quite a few people who didn't really know how to do that, but they really wanted to be in the bundle and they had amazing offers, but they just didn't really know how to get the last bits tidied up. So there's also that kind of opportunity that's come out of that from last year. I think lots of people have collaborated. So even from within my mastermind, like Jenny Hughes and Betsy Byler have collaborated.
Jenny was on the podcast here.
She was awesome. Right. Yeah.
And also Morgan Levy, she created a similar bundle for professionals.
Yes, right? Mindful Professional Bundle. She did an awesome bundle. She had amazing resources in there. And actually a couple of her bundle contributors are in TheraBundle this year with different offers, which is really awesome as well. So yeah.
And so then there's this other kind of organic part where people become part of a mastermind or seek out coaching or make these other connections. And then that just boosts their personal and professional growth.
Absolutely. I mean, if we have a look at Michelle Risser and how her business has totally blown up in the last year, I mean, she's doing fantastic stuff out there. I think quite a few people worked with Lee Shay McDonough, I think, after
I'm working with her now. Lee is amazing.
So lots of people, I think lots of people went on to work with her. She's a wonderful coach. Lots of people have kind of gone into her programs and stuff like that. So I think there's been like loads of amazing kind of little, and I see them around, like I see little things happening all over the internet, and it's really fun. It's really fun to see that.
Well, for me, this highlights that need for community and networking, and that therapists are so, even with social media, we're still hungry for that, for finding people who are like us, who get us, who work in a similar way, or who can help us, get to that next level that we aspire. And so you mentioned practice pods. Like, what are the practice pods? And, like, share a little about cultivating connection from your experience.
Yeah, so I started coaching groups a couple of years ago. So I did this course called Learn to Love Online Therapy. And then when that was finished, there was a therapist who was in there. She's amazing. She uses fairy tales in her practice. And so she wanted to do a workshop teaching about how to use fairy tales in your work. She said, well, I want to do that. So can you help me? And so, I did. I helped her kind of, because I was selling webinars, I think, at that point. And so I did. And then she was like, well, I want to continue doing some coaching, but can I split it with a few people? And so we found a few people, and so they split it, and that was the first practice pod. The first coaching group was created. I can't remember what we called it. I think Beyond Practice, I think we called it. And it was really lovely. And then I started another one, and then I started another one. And then I don't do memberships or kind of never-ending offers. So in December every year, I reassess everything. I plan my year, and then I sort of create new offers. And so this year I've had 2 practice pods and 1 mastermind. And that's been really wonderful. And they're really, what I love about my practice pods is that, first of all, the first one has been pretty consistent for 3 years. So you all know each other really well. They're sort of all moving like really, kind of very similar vibe, similar direction. And it's really very holding. The second one's very international. Got someone in Spain, got someone in Greece, got some, it's really fun. Someone in Switzerland. And so that's really fun as well, to connect people from different places. And then the mastermind is mostly people from, not all, but mostly people who are in TheraBundle and therapreneurs, and at that stage of career where they want to create groups and memberships and things like that. And it's really very different offers in there. So it's not me teaching a course, but it's all of us giving our experience. And I just really like the vibe of those things. I mean, by December, I'll have to rethink my year for next year and change my offers. So they're not.
You're busy the next couple weeks with this launch.
Yeah, exactly. So everything is there, everything's about TheraBundle now. And then I really think I plan my year, and every year I've got a different priority. So my priority last year was making sure that I was going to be available certain times of the week based on my family, limiting clinical practice, and making sure I had enough time for coaching to support therapists. And next year, I have to sort of do my coaching review of like, what do I want to do next year? Do I want to spend more time doing live calls, or do I want to spend more time writing or creating courses, or, so that's kind of the coaching groups and what comes out of it. But I do think I like to review every once in a while. And I think it's good for people who participate in groups to do that as well. So that we don't just sort of stay in the same place forever, basically.
Exactly. That's beautiful. And I love that about the vibe. And you can just imagine if you were, in one of those communities, those groups, getting coaching and being with this small group so intimately for 3 years. Like, how amazing is that? That's really, really powerful and holding, like you said. Yeah. And I love that you still do clinical work as well as coaching and entrepreneur work. And so you still have like all of these aspects that other people want to know about.
I just really love the clients that I work with. And I actually was saying the other day to someone, like, maybe I'll do one fewer group next year, and I'll take on some more clients because, I'd like to. I just really, really love the people that I work with, and I love that part. I love that part of it, and I think that our rhythm changes. Sometimes I want to do more clinical work. That's how I feel right now. And sometimes I want to do more online business learning. And sometimes I want to do more, creative, making graphics and things like that, or building a website. I mean, at the moment, I haven't really made any changes to any website apart from TheraBundle for about a year. But there are some periods of time where I make changes every day, So
Yes.
I go through phases, and I think a lot of us are like that. We like
Absolutely.
a range of things.
Right. Yes. And sometimes it's seasonal too, like maybe in the winter, we might want to take on a few more clients because we can see ourselves just kind of nesting and doing the clinical work. And then we get inspired and the days are longer in the summer. So, we can add in some content creation and all of those things. So it's okay to listen to whatever that natural rhythm is for you. Yeah.
Yes. And I think if we review that like regularly, I like to think about my schedule in 2-week blocks. And then I plan really quarter to quarter. And then at the end of the year, I think, okay, what's my kind of theme for next year? So I've got a sort of review. And I really think about September as, I mean, a lot of us are like this because of school, but generally I think about September as a kind of time of renewal. And so I often start making plans for the next year around September. And I kind of think of this like TheraBundle's in October. I kind of think of it as like the beginning of the year, like
Yeah.
it's the project that will propel me for the year, as opposed to coming up to the end of the year.
Yes, that's great. I like that. And that's really nice advice for people to think about exploring that way.
Mm.
So Tamara, you have had so much success as a course creator, as a therapist, as a therapreneur, and you have a vast reach in the therapy world. What do you think is, I know you don't like to talk about yourself, but what do you think is a key factor behind your success?
I don't know. It's so interesting, isn't it? Because when you say like you've had so much success, I sort of think like, what's the measure of success? Like what is our measure of success? Because I don't think I would ever like sort of, if someone said, oh, what do you do? I would never describe myself as like, I'm a successful course creator,
Well,
I would
right.
never be
But
like
how would you
4,000
measure
people have taken
success?
this. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like how do you measure success? I tell you what, I've got an email folder, and it's just marked encouragement. And occasionally I'll get a really lovely email from someone who tells me something personal or tells me something meaningful, and I just pop it in that folder. And I also get other kinds of emails that I don't like often, but they don't go, and they just go in like completed folder. But that encouragement folder, I think that's kind of, I don't know about the word success even, but measure of a success that stays with me. There are some emails in there that they really stay with me, where something I wrote or something I said actually made kind of an impact on someone's business or their day or something, whatever it was. So I don't know. I mean, I think I'm a little bit, in England we say I'm a little bit Marmite. So I'm a bit, you either really like me or you really don't. If you haven't tried Marmite, then it's really
Right.
horrible.
I don't know what you're talking
But
about.
some people love it. Yeah. I think in Australia they call it Vegemite. But anyway,
Oh.
it's this horrible sort of yeasty spread. It's nasty. But some people love it. And I think I'm a
Mm-hmm.
little bit Marmite for some people. So there'll be some people who like learning with me and they kind of stay with me. So they'll do my courses and they'll do my coaching, and I get very kind of attached, and I like to take care of my little groups and communities and things like that. And I think that's meaningful for people who are trying to build businesses when we were not taught about business skills and things.
Right. Well, I think that's
Um,
a big key, that you take care of your people and your communities. And, you really described also taking care of all of the aspects, whether it's contributors or purchasers of TheraBundle. There's a real care that's part of it.
Thank you. I mean,
Mhm.
I do also want to say, so that it doesn't just sound like I'm sort of singing my own praises. I'm a bit overzealous sometimes, and sometimes I go a bit overboard, and sometimes I'm like, you know, sometimes I'll take it a bit too seriously, like hosting my group, and I'll kind of get into a kerfuffle with someone over something really silly or little. And I've learned a bit about that, being able to step back. And, you know, I've had moments where I've sort of thought, oh, that wasn't that big a deal. And, you know, I didn't quite need to get into that online argument or whatever. And I think also being willing to learn from those things. I mean, you know, there were a lot of things that I learned from TheraBundle last year that have impacted and changed TheraBundle this year, and also our process. I've also got more people helping me. I had loads of help from contributors, connecting with other contributors, for example, and just being more open about the business process. So I think that's also something that maybe it's something I look for when I work with people anyway, is I like to see that they are open to learning.
Right. And that transparency too about their process. Very important. Yeah.
Yeah.
Would you give any specific advice to someone who is a therapist and wants to create a course or expands their impact?
So many ideas just came into my head at exactly the same time.
That's great.
I think what's important to remember is that everybody has something valuable to share, right? And what we share, we do inside our therapy space, or we can do it as a course, as a download, we can do it as a podcast. That they're just methods of delivery. And I think that when we remember it's just a method of delivery, you're already delivering that actually, but it's just thinking about putting it into a different method of delivery. For me, that takes the pressure off, because it's not like I have to create something out of nothing. It's what I already know, and it's what I'm already doing, and I'm just putting it into a different format. And everybody can learn different formats. You can hire someone to put it in a particular format. You can hire a podcast editor. You can hire a course creator. You can even hire a course designer who literally like plans all the modules and stuff. You can hire a tech person to help you with that. And you can learn all those skills on your own. Some of those skills you can even learn with courses from TheraBundle.
Yes, exactly. So, that's gold. That's gold, Tamara, what you just said, that we can take the pressure off, because we all have something of value that we can deliver. And that's really...
and we're actually, most of us, already delivering it. We're just talking about delivering it in a different way.
Yeah. Beautiful. Beautiful. Well, I just really want to thank you for spending all of this time in a short window when you're about to launch TheraBundle. Tell us again when it comes out. And I'm so grateful for all you're doing to help therapists really blossom in their work, both clinically and personally and professionally, in all of the ways. And it really comes through. So thank you for what you're doing for us, and inspiring so many of us.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy that you have a podcast. I have always thought you should have a podcast. I can't remember if I said that to you, but I am so happy that you have a podcast. It's really good. And TheraBundle, and hopefully I'll get you into the next one.
Okay.
I'm going to give you like a big heads up so that you can plan it.
Right. I'm a year ahead.
Yeah, exactly. I'll release the dates shortly. But TheraBundle this year is available for $100 from the 24th until the 31st of October. And you can remember that easily because it will turn into a pumpkin at the stroke of midnight Pacific on Halloween. And so that is the last time it will be available in this format.
That's great. We will have a link to it. You'll be able to get the link to TheraBundle. It's therabundle.com, but we'll have links to that and all of Tamara's other offerings so that you can check that out. And she has a huge page of freebies, so it's all there. But can't wait for you to see what is coming with this TheraBundle 2023. Yeah.
So
thank you again.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Pleasure. Absolutely.